The nearness of strangers. There is a man sitting alone in his apartment at 11:47 p.m. His phone is in his hand. It has been in his hand for 2 hours and 14 minutes. He has not spoken a word out loud since 6 p.m. But on his screen, he is not alone at all. He has just laughed a circumflex euros, actually laughed, a real sound in an empty room a circumflex euros, at a stranger's joke. He has just felt a flicker of grief for a man he will never meet, whose dog just died, 3,000 miles away. He has just nodded in solidarity with someone's rant about their boss, as if it were his boss too. By every emotional measure his body can register, he has had a full evening of human connection. By every measure that actually counts, he has spoken to no one. This is not a story about phone addiction. You already know about phone addiction. You've heard the lecture. Screen time bad, dopamine bad, put the phone down. This is something else, something underneath that. This is about a quiet substitution that happened to almost an entire generation without their permission, a circumflex euros. The slow replacement of asterisk being known, with asterisk being near asterisk. And by the end of this film, you may recognize yourself in it. Stay with that thought, we're going to need it. I the feeling that nothing. Let's start with a strange psychological fact, because nothing in this film will make sense without it. When you watch a stranger on a screen a circumflex euros, a streamer, a podcast host, a creator who talks like they're talking asterisk to asterisk you a circumflex euros, your brain produces real social chemistry, not a simulation of it, the real thing. Oxytocin, mild dopamine, a measurable drop in cortisol, the stress hormone, the same drop you'd get from a friend sitting beside you on a hard day. Researchers have a name for the relationship this creates. They call it parasocial asterisk a circumflex euros, a one-directional bond where you know everything about them and they know nothing about you, and yet your nervous system cannot tell the difference. Your brain evolved over hundreds of thousands of years in small groups, where a face that appeared regularly, spoke gently, and shared its thoughts with you was a circumflex euros. By definition, a circumflex euros, someone safe, someone in your tribe. Your brain has no setting for this face speaks to 4 million people and has never once heard your voice. So it does what it has always done. It bonds anyway. This is not a flaw in you. This is not weakness. This is a very old, very loyal survival mechanism, a circumflex euros, doing exactly what it was built to do in a world it was never built for. And here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. The feeling is real, the relationship is not. The woman who had 800 friends. Picture a woman a circumflex euros, let's call her the version of someone you might already know. Mid-20s, funny in her texts, present in every group chat, every comment section, every reaction to every shared post. By the numbers, she has an enormous social world, hundreds of contacts, dozens of close friend stories shared daily, a calendar that looks asterisk from the outside completely full. And yet, if you asked her a circumflex euros quietly, without an audience a circumflex euros, to name one person she could call at 3 a.m. without rehearsing what to say first, she would hesitate. Not because she lacks people. Because somewhere along the way, quantity of contact became a stand-in for asterisk depth of contact. She has been so busy being seen by everyone that she has had very little practice being truly known by anyone. This is the trade modern life quietly offers: breadth in exchange for depth, width in exchange for weight. And it doesn't announce itself as a loss. It feels like abundance. It feels like the opposite of lonely. That is precisely what makes it so dangerous. Loneliness used to feel like an empty room. Now, for many people, loneliness feels like a full notification screen, a circumflex euros. And that's a much harder kind of pain to notice, because every signal around you is insisting that you are, in fact, surrounded. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from being endlessly available and rarely understood asterisk. Psychologists sometimes describe this as social satiety, without social nourishment, a circumflex euros, like eating something that fills your stomach, but contains nothing your body actually needed. You can be stuffed and starving at the same time. #III, the architecture of ambient people. Here is a phrase worth sitting with: ambient intimacy. It describes a particular modern experience, a circumflex euros, the low, constant hum of knowing what dozens of people are doing, thinking, eating, arguing about, falling in love with, a circumflex euros, without any of them knowing a single true thing about you in return. Ambient intimacy feels like company. It has the asterisk texture asterisk of relationship. It fills the silence the way a television fills an empty house. But ambient is the key word. Ambient means present but not particular. It means everywhere and nowhere in particular all at once. You can spend an entire day swimming in other people's lives, a circumflex euros, their breakups, their vacations, their breakdowns, their breakthroughs, a circumflex euros, and reach the evening having shared none of your own, witnessed everything, disclosed nothing. And disclosure, a circumflex euros, the act of being specifically, vulnerably known by another specific person, a circumflex euros, is not a luxury add-on to human well-being. It is one of the central mechanisms by which the human nervous system learns that it is safe. Not safe in general, safe with someone. That distinction matters more than almost anything else in this film. A crowd can make you feel less alone for an hour. Only a person, a circumflex euros, one particular, attentive, asterisk aimed at you asterisk person, a circumflex euros, can make you feel less alone for a lifetime. #IV, the boy who built a perfect audience. There's a particular kind of person worth understanding closely here, a circumflex euros, not as a diagnosis, but as a mirror. Imagine a teenager, sharp, observant, a little wounded the way most sharp and observant teenagers are. He notices early that the version of himself that gets warmth from the world is the curated one, the funny one, the composed one, the one without the bad days in it. So he builds that version carefully, post by post, comment by comment, and it works. People respond. The warmth comes. But warmth that responds only to the performance teaches a brutal, quiet lesson. The real one isn't what's wanted here. This is how a person can become surrounded by approval and still feel, a circumflex euros, at the exact same time, a circumflex euros, fundamentally unseen, because approval was never really aimed at him. It was aimed at the edited version standing in front of him. Over years, something subtle happens to people who live this way. The line between who I am and who performs well gets blurry, even to themselves. They start to feel in private like a kind of imposter in their own life, a circumflex euros, successful by every visible metric, and strangely hollow at the center of it. This isn't vanity. It isn't shallowness. It is, in a very real sense, a starvation response, a circumflex euros, a mind doing the only thing it can think to do to get connection, in an environment that only rewards the polished surface and never asks about the person underneath it. And the cruelest part is this: the better the performance works, the lonelier the performer often becomes a circumflex euros, because every success confirms once again that it was the mask that was loved, not the face behind it. #VY the brain keeps CHOSING the easy version. You might reasonably ask a circumflex euros, if ambient connection is this hollow, why does almost everyone keep choosing it? The honest answer is uncomfortable, because it's easier asterisk and the brain is, at its core, an organ obsessed with conserving effort. Real intimacy carries cost. It requires showing a true feeling to someone who might not receive it well. It requires tolerating silence on the other end while you wait to find out if you've been understood a circumflex euros, or misunderstood or judged, or quietly filed away as too much. Ambient connection carries almost none of that risk. You can absorb a stranger's entire emotional arc a circumflex euros, their joy, their grief, their humor a circumflex euros, without ever being exposed to a single ounce of rejection yourself. You get the asterisk warmth of closeness with none of the vulnerability that closeness usually demands. It is, in a strange way, emotional contact with the safety rails left on. And a nervous system that has been hurt before a circumflex euros, by rejection, by being dismissed, by being too much for someone once a circumflex euros, will quietly, reasonably, start preferring the version of connection that can't hurt it back. This is not laziness. This is self-protection. It worked. It kept you safer. But safety and nourishment are not the same thing. A diet of only safe food, with nothing your body actually needs in it, will keep you alive while slowly making you weaker. This is what is happening underneath the surface to a great many people who would never describe themselves as lonely a circumflex euros, because they are never, technically, alone. #VI, the question under the question. So here is the deeper question this film has been circling, the one most people never quite let themselves ask. If I disappeared from every feed, every group chat, every comment section tomorrow a circumflex euros, who would actually notice the silence, not just see that I'm offline, but feel a hole in their own day where I used to be? Sit with that for a moment, don't rush past it. For some people, a name surfaces almost instantly. For many others, there's a long, uncomfortable pause a circumflex euros, followed by the realization that the honest list is shorter than the visible one. That pause is not a failure. It is information. It's your own mind quietly distinguishing, for the first time in a while, between the people who asterisk witness your life and the people who would asterisk feel its absence asterisk. Psychologists who study attachment describe a need that doesn't fade with age. No matter how independent or fine a person becomes a circumflex euros, the need for at least one relationship where you do not have to perform to be wanted, where the unfiltered version is not just tolerated, but actually preferred. Most people are not short on contact. Contact is, historically, at an all-time high. What a great many people are quietly short on is asterisk exposure a circumflex euros, the experience of being truly seen and discovering to their own relief that they were not too much after all. #VII, the way back is smaller than you think. If this film stopped here, it would simply be a diagnosis, a clever way of numbing a wound without offering anything for it. That would be its own kind of cruelty. So here is the part that matters most. The antidote to ambient connection is not less asterisk connection. It is not deleting every app, vanishing from every platform, and waiting for depth to magically appear in the silence. That's a myth a circumflex euros, solitude doesn't automatically produce intimacy. Plenty of disconnected people are simply lonelier, with better lighting. The antidote is something much smaller and much harder. One true disclosure to one real person on purpose. Not a curated story, not a clever caption. One honest sentence said to someone specific about something that actually matters to you, a circumflex euros, sent with the real risk that it might not land the way you hoped. That single act does something ambient connection never can. It gives another nervous system the chance to respond to you, specifically a circumflex euros. Not to your highlight reel, not to your humor, not to the version built for an audience, but to the unscripted thing underneath it. Most people are not actually afraid of being alone. If they're honest, what they're afraid of is being truly seen and finding out the worst suspicion they carry about themselves gets confirmed. But here is what tends to happen instead, more often than fear predicts. The other person leans in, not because you performed well a circumflex euros, but because you finally stopped. That is the moment ambient noise becomes an actual bond. It rarely announces itself with fireworks. It usually sounds like one sentence, slightly too honest, said out loud to someone who was simply willing to listen. #VIII. Closing a circumflex euros the room at 11:47. Let's go back to that man in his apartment, phone in hand, 2 hours and 14 minutes deep into other people's lives. Nothing about this film asks him to throw the phone away. That would be a different kind of lie a circumflex euros, the idea that the tool itself is the enemy. The tool isn't the problem, the substitution is. What if tonight, instead of one more video, one more thread, one more stranger's story absorbed and forgotten by morning a circumflex euros, he sent one message, not a clever one, not a funny one, just a true one. I've been having a harder time than I've let on. 11 words, no performance in them at all. Maybe it lands, maybe it doesn't, but for the first time all evening, something would be aimed at asterisk him, instead of simply passing asterisk through asterisk him. That's the quiet, almost invisible difference this entire film has been pointing toward. Not more connection, not less connection. Aimed connection a circumflex euros, the kind that knows your name and would notice, genuinely and specifically, if one day you simply weren't there. So before you close this tab, open another video, return to the ambient hum that's been waiting for you this whole time. Ask yourself the only question that was ever really underneath this film. Who in your life is this real with you? And if no name comes quickly a circumflex euros. That's not a verdict on who you are. It's an invitation, tonight to one person slightly too honest. That's where it actually begins.